We've had a really surprising update regarding Scottie Barnes and Jakob Poeltl as Darko Rajakovic revealed that they could still potentially return this season. So we'll discuss that, but that wasn't the boldest quote that came out of Darko's mouth at a recent sort of press conference, as he also had some interesting comments regarding Jalen McDaniels, who is obviously a guy that hasn't lived up to the expectations that he had coming into this Raptors group. So lots of stuff to sink our teeth into in this video. Again, if you want to stay up to date with all of the latest Toronto Raptors news, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This offseason's about to be madness for this Raptors team. But let's dive in the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is Scottie and Jakob Poeltl returning to the lineup. Now, the Raptors season, it's been pretty written off following that 15-game losing streak the team has been on. Now, there's a little win streak happening. I'll play the party animation. We're one game away from another pizza party for the Toronto Raptors. We're on a 2-game win streak right now, very close to 3. But the Raptors, they're trying to find ways. They were trying to find little wins to close out this season. And one positive is seeing RJ Emmanuel quickly back into the lineup, because we want to see our new young Raptors acquisitions get comfortable with each other, get some more reps as lead players on this Raptors group. So that's all been positives. But we had an interesting report saying that more returns could potentially happen. It's basically news came out from Darko Rajakovic if there's a chance that Scottie Barnes or Jakob Poeltl could return for the final 5 games of the season, and he can neither confirm nor deny. He said they're ramping up and we're trying to get them in the best state possible. So obviously there's only 5 games left in the season, and some Raptors fans are like, this makes absolutely zero sense. And I agree to a certain extent. If the Raptors are ramping them up too fast, like if Scottie Barnes could benefit from, an extra couple of weeks of resting or, training and not risking hurting his hand, hurting his injury right now, going into that could affect his offseason training and obviously into next year, then ramping him up for the last 5 games would be stupid. It would be idiotic. It makes no sense for this team. In the same vein for Jakob Poeltl. But, again, we're looking for little wins to close out this year. I know everyone's looking for the tank, and some people are disappointed in the 2-game win streak that's been going on for this Raptors group, and I completely understand it as, if we lost those last 2 games, we'd only be 2 games behind the Portland Trailblazers, and potentially securing the 5th worst odds in the sort of NBA sort of tankathon race. So I understand it completely from where Raptors fans are coming from, but this team isn't looking to, again, are we looking to be a championship contender next season? No, that's unrealistic. That's improbable. But if it happens, it happens. I'll be super stoked and hyped. But we aren't looking for one of these long, multi-year, just absolute mess of basketball. What we had for the past month or so, we're not looking to have that for next season. The Raptors didn't trade OG Anunoby for a multitude of draft picks for one major reason. They want to compete. They want to turn things around pretty quickly. They want to maximize Scottie Barnes being an all-star caliber player, and that's why they traded for younger star guys rather than draft picks, where there's more potential upside in theory. Again, Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett seem like steals to me, but they want guys that can actually have an impact on winning right away. And, having some reps, whether it's 5 games, whether it's 3 games, just getting a bit more experience where IQ, RJ Barrett can play with Scottie Barnes, there's some benefits to that. Obviously, they'll have all offseason to train, but obviously Scottie Barnes had an all-star year this year, dwindled off a little bit as the number 1 option, and more reps for Scottie Barnes as that number 1 guy. That's probably the biggest sort of negative in regards to his injury. It's not all it's going to have long-term effects or stuff like that, but as we saw with Pascal Siakam, heck, as we saw with Lowry, DeMar early on in their careers, when you bring in a guy, when they go from kind of role player complementary piece to star, it changes things. How the defense is locked in on you, how you're sort of focused, by different schemes from the other teams. It takes some adjustments. It takes actual reps in order to get those skills underneath your belt. How to handle, being the number 1 option on your team. So Scottie Barnes especially getting some more reps with Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby off this team. That could be a positive in terms of going forward. Him seeing a few more situations to close out this year and, carry that over into next season. Now, do I want the Raptors to rush him back? Is this a need? Is this a hey, we need to force him back, ramp things up if he's still injured? No. But I'm not as shook or disappointed if this ends up being the case, unless we end up having the Grizzlies surpass us. That'll be pretty tough. But I'm cool with seeing this team play out the last 5 games of the year if they're able and healthy to go. So we'll see how that all plays out. I broke down the Tankathon standings. It looks like we're going to have those 6 odds. So we'll see. We'll see how that all plays. Again, the Grizzlies, they've been 4-6 in their last 10 games. The Raptors, it's going to be improbable to catch the Portland Trailblazers here now at this point. But that is what it is. And the Pacers are in an interesting spot as well. Basically, they beat the Miami Heat. So what we want, ideally, if we're sort of maximizing our draft capital, is for the Pacers to fall in the play-in tournament and then get knocked out in the play-in tournament, even if we're rooting for Pascal Siakam, because then we get 2 lottery picks for this season. So that's what we'd like to see. Philadelphia is on an absolute tear right now, and they have an easy schedule to close out the season with Embiid back. So I wouldn't be shocked if Philadelphia catches them. It's going to be tough for Miami now at this point because they just had a tough loss to Indiana last night. So I've been keeping a close eye on where our draft picks are going to potentially land. So, we'll keep you up to date on all that type of stuff. But that wasn't the boldest thing, Scottie and Jakob Poeltl returning the lineup, Darko Rajakovic said, because he had some even more bold quote yesterday in regards to Jaden McDaniels, who is a player that has been an absolute utmost disappointment to this group. I was pretty hyped about him coming in. Again, a two-way player in theory, play defense, can slash, can in theory shoot the basketball, but he has not been a great fit. Josh Lewinberg put it pretty well in his first quote. The Ujiri Webster-led front office has done a lot of things well during its decade in Toronto, but free agency isn't among them. And Jalen McDaniels, who still has another year guaranteed left on his deal, might be their worst signing ever. I think it was still a good signing at the time, but injuries led the Damari Carroll signing to be the worst one ever. I think that's definitely the case. Otto Porter Jr. is also another one. I know that was gassed up by a lot of Toronto Raptors fans, but basically Darko on McDaniels. I am still hopeful he can figure it out and help us. I think he's a very talented basketball player. He just needs to find that niche on the court. I think he's going to have a great summer, and I think next year he's going to be in the rotation and help us. Now, I love this quote from Darko Rajakovic. I've seen some people complaining about this, saying it doesn't make sense, and it is certainly bold. The season Jalen McDaniels has had on this group, I instinctively want to say Jaden McDaniels, because I've been watching a few more Timberwolves games, but Jalen McDaniels has had on this year, it's been bad. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. 3 points per game, 47 games of action, shooting 16% from the 3-point line, shooting 35% from the field overall. Right, like, it's bad, the numbers he's been putting up, and the advanced stats really don't like him. His BPM is a -9 for this group. I mean, it is not good. Jalen McDaniels has objectively been horrible for this Toronto Raptors team, but again, he's athletic. We've seen flashes of him being solid on defense. He does turn over the ball a lot, loses the basketball and all that, so I like a coach instilling or doing his best to instill some confidence in a dude, but saying he's going to be in the rotation and things like that for next season just feels a little bit crazy given how bad the box score numbers, the advanced numbers, and the eye test look for Jalen McDaniels for the Toronto Raptors for this year. I wouldn't be shocked if the Raptors try to trade him, buy him out, do something. Open up that roster spot. And I'll eat crow on this. I was pretty excited about McDaniels coming into this group. So it is what it is. It's just how these signings sort of go sometimes. But Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, hopefully they're better at sort of building out around the edges for this Raptors group moving forward into the future. But let me know what you guys think about the Toronto Raptors, all this Toronto Raptors news. You guys best make it as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.